One of the key pillars of Rwanda's Vision 2020 is a private sector-led development that is spearheaded by competitiveness and entrepreneurship. A booming private sector helps business people to see their profits soar, to help the economy to grow. It revitalizes the community, and for the case of Rwanda, it helps us attain or realize our target of being a self-sustaining economy. The government of Rwanda has relentlessly promoted the private sector, and all this is in the aim of fostering both local and foreign investment. A warm welcome to the Big Q with me, Imi Molekatete Kalema, and joining me on the set to help me dissect that issue of private sector and how we can see it more vibrant is the Chief Executive Officer of Private Sector Federation Rwanda, Stephen Ruzibiza. A pleasure to have you.
My pleasure, thank you.
Now, briefly, tell us, to what extent should the Rwandan community rely on PSF for the economic growth and development of our country?
Well, they should have confidence. They shouldn't fear. The reliance which I think you're looking at is the one, security of job, job creation, employment levels, and the support to budget, because at the end of the day, the government has to rely on the stability and the strength and the growth of private sector. This year, there's this financial year, private sector budget into the country is 6%. So there is job creation. I think if you saw the statistics released last year, I think the job level is 140-something thousand per year.
146,000.
So, yeah. So at least there is a bit of improvement. There is a bit of stability. I have seen private sector investing in almost all sectors.
Yes. Be
it infrastructure, be it services. So they should be able, and they should be safe.
And now we are able to get into some of the questions that were sent in by the audience on our social media platforms. Pat Mbaye on Twitter, the public sector here is more vibrant than the private sector. Why is the case?
Well, I don't know what it means that the public sector is more vibrant than the private sector, but I'm seeing private sector also being vibrant. But
not to where we want it to go.
We are still coming. We are yet to reach the destination. And private sector, by the way, I don't think it shouldn't even be compared. The two are supposed to work parallel, coexistent.
Yes.
One provides infrastructure, and the other comes in to fill the infrastructure.
Okay.
Private sector cannot be vibrant if the infrastructure are not there.
Yes.
If you are talking about who is on the scene, being seen every day, maybe they will accept part of the blame that private sector is not being portrayed the way they are supposed to be portrayed. There are so many things which private sector has done. I will give you an example.
Okay.
There is a service which I know is in the government called BDS, Business Development Services.
Yes.
That is an idea I started with Private Sector Federation. Now the government took it over. So if you look at some of the initiatives, some of innovations, they started with private sector. But again, as we have said, I think we have to do the marketing to say we are also here, but we are not going to compete because we are not comparing two sectors.
We're not looking at competition, but we want to see private sector more involved in some of the things that are going to change the lives of the people today. And like earlier on, you talked about the fact that you're going to contribute more to the job creation and all that. We want to see some tangible figures, some tangible statistics that show what has been done by private sector to ensure that certain things are done. So I think in this case, what he meant is we're not feeling more of the private sector than we should.
Okay, that one we shall do.
Okay.
That's why I said we are going to be more visible.
Now, I head to ALAIN MURARA. Foreign soft development companies are required to transfer knowledge to local people. But is this process monitored by the Federation?
See, foreign direct investment companies are part of private sector.
Yes.
And what we do as private sector, we employ the mass. When they are foreign coming in here, one of the conditions, I hope, through the government is a certain percentage of the population to be employed.
Yes.
And that's when the knowledge is supposed to be transferred. As PSF, what we are looking at is the relevant skills to do the job. So the government should be able to supply us with relevant skill, required skill and knowledge. As to whether it is being monitored by private sector, through skills evaluation, through capacity building, we do it. Also, because we do the needs assessment, skills needs assessment and gaps assessment, which is, I think, being handled by National Secretariat for Capacity Building and other services of the government. But it is the government which is doing much of the monitoring to see if there is a transfer of knowledge and skills. Okay,
and over to Atulinda Alan. Why is it that companies have to pay for certificates of operation, say, in all ESC countries, rather than paying in one?
That is a good question for integration, which I agree, I don't know. The politicians and policy makers have to help us as private sector.
And are you pushing for it as private sector, because you must have a role in it?
Yes, we are doing it. We do advocacy, both domestically and in the region. We are asking for removal of NTBs.
Yes.
That requirement of requiring a company to register in all countries, it is an NTB to do business. Where integration has moved successfully, we have freedom of establishment, the right of establishment. Yes. A company is able to open business in one country but do business in the other without requirements to register. So we are continuing, and we shall insist on free right of establishment without much requirements of going through all these processes, because we are in one region and this is a global village where we should do business.
Let's now take a very short break. We will be right back. Please keep it here. Welcome back. It's still the Big Q with me, Imi, and with Stephen Ruzibiza, CEO at PSF, and I'm glad that you're still here with us. And we are still getting into the questions, some of those that you sent on our social media platforms. Edin Zaramba, some private companies, especially members of the Golden Circle, have raised concern over the high premium fee that they pay annually, and they don't see, or the limited results or benefits are very limited. What do you say about this?
Well, when they ask value for money, I don't want to create an atmosphere that is going to be not good for business.
Okay.
Private sector is a membership organization, membership-based organization. The people who pay monthly subscription are categorized. There is Golden Circle, there is ordinary members and champions. But I think here the point for contention is the Golden Circle group,
yes,
which the monthly or annual subscription is 5 million.
Okay.
They have benefits that goes with the amount paid.
Yes.
Today, if the members are saying that we are not getting what we should get, that is something to look into.
Yes.
But we think we are doing much. We are having something in pipeline to increase on the benefits, because our purpose is to serve our members.
Yes.
And we have value for money. Basically, value with tangible results. And that's what we are doing. So a number of things are in pipeline, and I hope this time they'll be okay.
Would you promise anything? Is there anything cooking, anything in the store that you can talk about?
I didn't want to say watch this line because I'm on your show.
Okay.
But watch PSF line this week. You may get something.
So just keep watching the space. Something could be cooking in for you as the business people. Now, Alan Segawa, aren't SMEs sidelined or neglected, since FDIs always receive more tax incentives and subsidies, yet the micro level, those on the micro level do not receive anything?
I don't think they are neglected or segregated, because all of them, they register from one authority, that is RDB. Before you start any business, you have to register with the RDB.
Yes.
If you go through cooperatives, they have also organs whom they go to.
Yes.
So in terms of advantages, in terms of benefits, incentives, they are given the same.
Okay.
Given the level of the employment that you are going to go into. But here what maybe is an issue is because there is that element of DeFi. People think because there's a DeFi, it's going to be handled in a separate way. But whenever you have an issue, that's when I know RDB has an aftercare unit.
Okay.
Who they start with, then we need to talk to RDB maybe and see if some of our SMEs are being really sidelined. But I don't think they're sidelined.
Okay, I hope that is something that we'll be able to address maybe at a longer term. Now over to Ruzibiza Stephen, your namesake And he told me he has to raise a question to you. What is the PSF specifically doing to bring farmers cooperatives on board as active members of the private sector? He thinks they are not well represented at private sector advocacy, yet the sector makes a big chunk of productive Rwandans.
Cooperatives?
Yes.
I agree. Agro-business is one of the biggest sector in Rwanda. In terms of establishment, we have a Chamber of Agriculture.
Yes.
Under the Chamber of Agriculture, it has associations. Associations, they're embedded into unions, companies, and then cooperatives. So all those, they are represented at the PSF level because they go through the Chamber of Agriculture. And they have the president, they have the board of directors. So I think they are ably represented. But if there is any issue where they are being sidelined, they can be handled. But in terms of structure, in terms of administrative procedures, they are all covered. In terms of
I think in this sense, I tried to look at some of the members of the Golden Circle. I think you don't also dissect whether one is from agriculture.
No.
Okay. I tried to look at the members in the Golden Circle, and I didn't seem to see any cooperative, agriculture cooperative in there. Is it because probably they cannot reach the limit, the premium fee that they have to pay of 5 million? What is lacking for them to also have that advocacy, that good advocacy that you give to those in the Golden Circle?
Advocacy is the mandate of PSF.
Yes, sure.
So you get advocacy whether you're a member of PSF or not a member of PSF.
Okay.
Registered or non-registered. We have to first give you the service. As to whether there is anyone from the cooperatives, if they want to join the Golden Circle, it is voluntary. We don't discriminate anyone.
But that money, of course, puts them out automatically puts them out because maybe they are not able to raise the 5 million every year.
That is something we can look into, but we can't say they have not gotten their services because they are not members. Okay. The primary responsibility of PSF is advocacy. So that's why I say they have the chambers. If you can't come through the Golden Circle, you can go through other methods or other procedures, and you get your issues addressed. There are issues which have been collected through advocacy in terms of from cooperatives. The other thing also which causes a bit of mismatch is that cooperatives at times they deal directly with the Ministry of Trade and Industry. So at times members don't know who to go to. Okay. So because they have a department in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, they think maybe their issues can be addressed there. But PSF is there.
Okay.
The other thing which I want to also air out here is that some members don't know that PSF is supposed to represent them. And I think it is good if also they approached us.
Then that means it gets back to you. Maybe they do not feel like you can, you're there for them. Because if they don't feel, it's one thing for me to know that I have someone there for me. I have someone's back. But if I don't know that that person has my back, will I go to them?
Let's look into it that way. But I know how they know that we are not members. They are no PSF. The fact that the cooperatives know there is a PSF and they see they are not able to being represented, they know there is a PSF. So we can't that one rule it out. That PSF is not known.
Yes.
The next thing is now, why is a member not a PSF? Remember, PSF is a membership-based organization, an apex body of business operators, irrespective of the capacity.
Yes.
Whether you are an SME, whether you are a big corporate, or a cooperative, it is a private sector membership-based. And that's why we established chambers, so that what can't be solved at the high level, national level, can go through the chambers, through associations, even to the district level. So if your challenges can't be handled at national level, it has to be addressed at the district level. I think it is a thing of publicity and awareness campaign.
And assurance. That you've got our backs.
Yeah.
Okay, now over to George N. What is your role in pushing for the local presence of international banking facilities in the country. And he gave one example of some of the big corporates that we might have in the company, or, I mean in the country, or big companies, but they do not have, they don't feel it right, or they don't feel comfortable to bank in some of our banking facilities locally, and they would want to see maybe a Barclays or a Stanbic. Does private sector in any way have any role in pushing for the presence of such banks?
I have never heard of any bank which has been robbed in Rwanda.
Okay.
I have never heard of any bank which has closed business in Rwanda. Neither have I even had any complaint against any bank in terms of security, in terms of stability, in terms of confidence to the public.
Yes.
So let's remove the fear factor that some corporates here are not really, they have skepticism that they cannot bank with a given bank that we have. In terms of the foreign banks, we have a few or many here.
Yes.
I can cite Equity across the region. I think it is operating around 6 countries in the region.
Just in the region, just like Access Bank, just in the region.
Access Bank
has one in the UK.
Up in Nigeria.
Just one representation in the UK. Eco Bank, only Africa.
The whole of Africa.
Yes, but I'm talking of a company, that is probably from the US, from Europe.
Have you heard of BRD, the Imara group?
Yes, I have.
So some are coming on board.
Yes.
So they are starting.
Okay.
Why should I first of all invite a foreign bank to come in here? It is business. Yeah. The environment is good. People can come and do business. So I would only call for the investors from outside if the domestic market is not able to supply the demands. Okay. But that is not my responsibility anyway. The government will do their part. What is the role of PSF? To encourage foreign banks to do business. It is our business. If the demand on market is not meeting that one. But I will do it with the government to keep encouraging them. I don't think there is fear for lack of that demand. Thank
you very much for that. Over to KATEERA S. Blame game on finance. Private business entities say that they cannot access credit from banks, but the letter says that private businesses lack bankable projects. On the other hand, the businesses that beat the bank requirements complain of high interest rates. What do you think should be done here?
This is a tricky situation because both of them, the business operators and the banks, are my members.
Yes.
So I don't know how I'm going to handle both demands. But the thing is, the interest rates are set by the government, especially through the central bank, the regulators.
Yes.
As PSF, we have tried to bring both parties on the table. Members from the bank and members from business operators. They should reach a compromise because they need each other. So that's why I said we are doing something where the two have to reach a mutual concession and decide the level of the interest. But if I jumped out of the corner, if you look at what sets the interest rate, why should the interest rate be high or be low? One will depend on the level of savings in the system.
Okay.
Who does the savings? It is the business operators.
Yes.
It is the mass. So the lower the savings, the higher the demands of the interest, the higher the interest rate is. To even the return on the investments.
Yes.
The risk involved in the business determines the rate of interest. But let me leave that one to the policy makers.
Okay.
They are the ones to teach the interest rates.
And how are you going to help in that sense? Because you have 2 children fighting.
Who should live harmoniously?
Who should live harmoniously? As a parent, what do you in that particular situation?
The best thing is to bring the 2 on the table and they decide their routes.
And we are looking forward. We're going to take a very short break.
Already we have done it.
Sure, we take a very short break. We'll be right back. Keep it at RBA. Welcome back, and we continue with our discussion with Stephen Ruzibiza from PSF, and we head straight to UWERA Florence. We have private sector federation, and this has chambers. You talked about around 10, all set up to advocate for the private sector. But some people say these are just white elephants. We can't say they don't have skills, but do they have the strategic plans? Do they carry out research in order to advance the cause of business community?
Wow, this is interesting. White elephants. Are we allowed to change some languages?
You can change. You can change.
I don't think really they are not doing good job. They are doing good job. And they do research.
Okay.
Really. You see, what is research? Is to know the factual data, factual elements on the ground.
Yes.
When you have the factual evidence-based. I know some businesses or some issues which have been solved and they have come up. The question is, has it been solved because through associations or chambers?
Yes.
Yes and no. It will depend where the issue is channeled.
Okay.
The good thing in Rwanda here is that the avenues of addressing challenges are so many and they are all open.
Sure.
I can access the minister by a call without going through a C.E.O, without calling the chairman of association, and my issue will be addressed. Unlike where somewhere, if you call a minister, the minister will tell you first talk to your chairman, then it goes gradually feeling big.
Yes.
So I think the associations are capable. And again, through capacity building, remember where PSF is coming from. If I may jump a bit, government used to almost own 99% of our businesses here.
Yes.
They have privatized part of it to build the private sector. Government has taken time to come up with strategies of building the capacity of their public service servants. They have put up strategic campaigns to take their public servants on trainings.
Before you continue, sir.
Yes.
In this particular issue, the contention is on your employees.
Why do I get them? From the public?
From the public?
The government.
No, this is a private entity. It's
That's
not
why, see, when you say private, I don't manufacture people, nor that the company manufacture people. It gets people from the same group.
Yes.
And our work, remember you're doing business.
Yes.
And when you're going to do business, you rely on the available skills, capacity, and knowledge.
Okay.
Where do I get that? Either I get it from the private institutions or public institutions. That's where they get mass. They're there to do the job. There's on-job training, but there's also the basic trainings that I get from the teaching schools.
Okay.
So if I go back to the association, that's the reason I had said, gone back a little bit, is to show the trend of evolutions of private sector. Gradually, you're moving there. I'm not saying we should move at a sluggish pace. Yes. But at least there is a direction we are heading to. So gradually you will get the...
I'm already listening to my director and he's telling me my time is up. Okay. But I have many questions which I'm very sure I'm not going to front. But the last one, Junior SABENA MUTABAZI on Twitter said, this should be the last one, and briefly, what role is the private sector playing in matching supply of and demand for skilled labor?
We have skills councils where they evaluate the skills gap analysis to identify what the market wants and what the market has to supply the labor force.
Yes.
So private sector, together with the National Secretariat for Capacity Building, they put up all those councils to identify what is needed for the market with relevant skills.
Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Are you going to be available on Twitter? Because I'm seeing many questions that have been left here, and I'm very sure some questions will be coming in on Twitter. Are you going to be available?
Please click. I can start answering some from here.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for the questions that you sent in. And I am grateful to always have you watching. I am Imi Mulekatete Kalema, telling you to be well and be blessed, but do not forget, keep the messages and comments and suggestions and questions coming in, and like he says, that he's available to answer all of them. But my Twitter handle @Murime and the one at RTV English, and you can also tag him in case you want the questions to be answered. You can also tag PSF. So thank you so much for your time. Be well and be blessed.